Think of the moment when the storm finally breaks. We have all known the feeling of being cast ashore, exhausted, battered by the tides of fate, wondering if the world holds any kindness left. This is the story of a young princess who, in a moment of innocent play, became the savior of a hero, proving that sometimes the most formidable force in the universe is not the rage of a god or the strength of a warrior, but the simple, fearless compassion of a young woman. To understand this tale, we must look to the edge of the known world, to the island of Scheria. This is Phaeacian, a superscript 1, realm of the Phaeacians, a people who live in a golden haze of peace, removed from the wars and woes of mainland Greece. They are the masters of the seas, mariners so skilled that their ships, steered by thought alone, can cut through the mist and deliver cargo to any harbor without fear of wreck or ruin. They live in a city of high walls and blooming gardens, a place of perpetual feast and song, presided over by the wise King Alcinous and the gracious Queen Arete. It is a paradise of leisure, a place where the harsh realities of the world seem to wash up on the shore, but rarely penetrate the heart. But fate has a way of finding even the most secluded harbors. Far away on the island of Ogygia, the nymph Calypso had finally released her captive, Odysseus. After 7 years of languishing in her golden cage, the wily king of Ithaca had built a raft and set sail, only for the earthshaker Poseidon to spot him. In a rage of ancient hatred, the god of the sea hurled his trident and summoned a storm that shattered the raft like kindling. For 2 days and 3 nights, Odysseus swam through the churning blackness, clutching a piece of his broken ship, until the waves cast him, half drowned and naked, onto the sands of the Phaeacian coast. And there he lay, a crumpled mass of bruises and salt, covered in seaweed, barely breathing, looking more like a corpse washed up from the deep than a living king. He was alone, a stranger in a strange land, his story seemingly at its end. But the gods were watching, and they set in motion a gentle intervention. At the palace of King Alcinous, the princess Nausicaa slept. Her name means burner of ships, a title that belied her nature, for she was not a destroyer, but a bringer of life. The goddess Athena, moving like a soft breeze, entered the maiden's dreams, disguising herself as Nausicaa as best friend. She whispered a divine suggestion, that the clothes of the household were lying in soiled heaps, and that the princess should go to the riverbanks the next morning to wash Thema, for soon suitors would be coming, and she must be radiant in fresh linen. When the sun gilded the eastern peaks, Nausicaa awoke with a sense of purpose. She went to her father, the king, and asked for the mule cart. She did not mention the suitors, nor the dream. She spoke only of the necessity of cleanliness. Alcinous, a doting father, readily agreed. He yoked the sleek mules to the polished carriage, and the princess set out, accompanied by her maids. They drove to the washing pools, where the water flowed clear and cool, a place of sheltered beauty. There, they unpacked the linens and set to work. It is a scene of pastoral perfection, the kind of idyllic morning that exists before history intrudes. They washed the clothes in the deep pools, rinsed them, and spread them out on the pebbly shore to dry in the bright sun. Then Nausicaa, her task begun, called her handmaidens to join her in a game. They anointed their skin with olive oil, the gold of the Mediterranean, and began to toss a ball back and forth, their laughter ringing against the rocks, their white robes fluttering in the wind. They sang to the rhythm of the game, a chorus of youth and vitality, unaware that the most broken man in the world lay sleeping just Estonia's throw away. Then a misstep. In the heat of the game, one of the maids missed her catch. The ball sailed wide and splashed into a dark eddy of the river. At the splash, the sleeping man awoke. Odysseus rose from the thicket like a lion roused from its den, covered in the sea's debris, terrifying in his desperation. He broke a branch of thick olive leaves to hide his nakedness, a savage figure against the elegance of the princess. The maids saw him and scattered, screaming down the beach, their joy shattered by the sight of this wild, beaked monster of a man. But Nausicaa stood her ground. Here was the test of her character. While her companions fled in terror, the princess looked into the wild eyes of the stranger. Perhaps Athena had instilled courage in her heart, or perhaps she simply possessed a nature that saw beyond the grime to the man within. She realized he was no monster, but a shipwrecked sailor in need of aid. She called to her fleeing maids, chiding their fear, reminding them that they were near the people of the godlike Phaeacians. She stood as a pillar of composure in the face of panic. Then she turned to the stranger. She did not run. She did not call for the guards. She spoke to him. She offered him oil to cleanse his skin after the harsh salt water and the tunic she had brought for herself to wear. She showed him where he could bathe in the river to remove the brine that clung to him like a second skin. Odysseus, the master of words, did not plead. He paused, taking a moment to pray to the daughter of Zeus for her beauty and her grace, and then he spoke from a distance, careful not to alarm her further. He asked her, "Are you a goddess or a mortal? If you are a goddess, surely you are Artemis, most beautiful of all. If you are mortal, blessed are your parents and blessed is the husband who will one day call you wife." He accepted her kindness with the dignity of a king, washing himself in the river and donning the fresh tunic. Athena, watching unseen, endowed him with a divine beauty, making him look taller, stronger, and more godlike, so that when he returned to the bank, he sat beside the princess not as a beggar, but as an equal. They ate together, and the conversation turned to the nature of things. It is a tender memento two young people, one a weary veteran of 10 years of war and wandering, the other a sheltered princess on the cusp of adulthood. He asked her for directions to the city, but she, wise beyond her years, advised him on the politics of survival. "The Phaeacians," she warned, "are a proud people. Do not let a passing stranger carry us along, for they might think me foolish for consorting with a traveler." She instructed him on how to approach her parents, how to walk past the garden and the grove of Athena, and how to win the favor of her mother, the queen. She drove him to the edge of the city, then bade him walk alone so as not to invite gossip. It was a parting of ways that was both protective and respectful. Odysseus entered the city, wrapped in the protective mantle of her advice, and soon stood before the king and queen, telling the tale of his long journey from Troy. So, what does this interlude mean? Why does this brief encounter survive? In the pantheon of Greek myths, Nausicaa stands out because her weapon is not a sword but wisdom and welcome. To the ancient Greeks, and to us, she represents the Xenia, the sacred law of hospitality that binds the human world together. She is the proof that civilization rests not just on walls and laws, but on the ability to see the humanity in the other, even when that other is at his lowest point. She represents the fleeting, golden moment of youth, innocent, unjaded, and